looks as though comedian and former Air America radio host Al Franken could unseat Republican incumbent Norm Coleman in the Minnesota Senate race. The latest poll from Minnesota Public Radio and the Humphrey Institute showed that Franken is now 4 points ahead of Coleman. Franken was trailing by 9 points at the beginning of last week, but his lead is still within that 5-point margin of error, so actually this is a virtual dead heat. Patricia Lopez is a political reporter for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Patricia, great to see you today.
Thank you.
We were looking at polls taken just days apart here, but the vice presidential debate, the approval of the Wall Street bailout plan happened in between, especially the bailout plan. Coleman said yes, he would have voted on that. Franken said no, he would not have supported that. How does it factor with voters in your state?
It looks as though voters are really resistant to the bailout still. The main thing that's changed in the last week has been the bailout package, and we now have 2 polls that show Franken pulling ahead. There was a Star-Tribune newspaper poll that showed Franken ahead by 9 points, and now this NPR poll that shows him ahead by 4. And you have resistance to the bailout package, and then people just linking this economic collapse to the Republican administration, and Coleman is suffering because of it.
And the poll shows that a lot of these Minnesota voters think Franken is too liberal for him, but, you know, he's got the name recognition. He has the former Vice President Al Gore campaigning for him. So why does that then supersede how Minnesota voters see him in terms of his liberalness?
They really seem to be looking at everything now through the lens of the economy and what that means to them. And being a Republican incumbent is just a tough place to be. They've said all along in this race that for Franken to win, it needed to become a referendum on the Bush administration and Coleman's Republican link to that.
And is that
Coleman
what has
tried to make this race about Franken. Pardon me? It appears to be what's happening. We've seen that there have been just a tidal wave of negative ads in this race. And in the poll that we took, which came out on Sunday, it showed that voters were having a definite negative reaction to that, with a majority of them thinking that the personal ads on Franken were too harsh, and they seem to be a bit of a distraction. They're hyper-focused right now on economy.
There's another issue that's not at all economy related that people are talking about. I know that Senator Coleman's campaign manager was not exactly forthcoming, and he was asked whether someone else had paid for Norm Coleman's, of all things, his suits. Let me play it.
His suits.
So Senator Coleman's friend has not bought these suits for him. Is that correct?
The senator has reported every gift he's ever received.
Why can't you say that? Why don't you give us an answer, yes or no, on that?
Has he ever received a gift of suits?
He's reported every gift he's ever received.
How much attention is that now getting, and do voters really even care about that?
You know, it's just starting to filter out. It's something that's happened mainly on the internet through a lot of emails and blogs. I don't know that it has penetrated to voter consciousness. And even though it might be, you know, one more little, you know, straw on everything else, I think ultimately it's still going to focus on the economy and where the candidates are on that. Everything else is just sort of a side issue.
It is very exciting, as I said, statistically tied race. It'll be interesting to see what the next 3.5 weeks bring. Patricia, thanks so much for your time.